Welcome to the case study course. My name's Kieran Doe. I'm a senior tutor at ACA Masters. When I sat the case study exam myself, I won the ICAW prize for the highest score in the world with a mark of 92%. Several of my students have also won prizes for their performance in the case study exam, including one student who also won the ICAW prize for the highest score in the world after failing previously with other tuition providers. And therefore this demonstrates how much improvement can be made in your exam performance after using the course. So I very much look forward to helping you ace your case study exam. So the way that the course is structured, I'll firstly teach you the exam technique to use in your case study exam, the exam technique which has led to very high levels of student success. Once I've taught you the exam technique, which is general to all case study exams, we'll then apply this to your live advanced information. So the case study exam is in the same format every time. The requirements are the same. The exam paper is in the same format. The same types of information are included. Similarly, the marking key is in the same format every time. The same types of points are awarded marks in the case study exam, and the structure of the marking grids is the same. Therefore, we'll firstly begin with me teaching you the exam technique to use, which is generic to all case study exams. And once I've taught you this prize-winning exam technique, we'll just apply it to your live advanced information. So the case study business that you will be analysing in your exam. So in the first classes, I'll work through a recent case study exam and I'll demonstrate the exam technique to use for each requirement. So using an exam on a recent case study, I'll take it one requirement at a time. So starting with requirement 1, I'll give you an overview of what requirement 1 involves, and then I'll work through a requirement in full to demonstrate the exam technique to use for requirement 1. So this would include me explaining how you should read and interpret the requirement and how you should therefore then use that to structure your report headings. I'll then work through the exam paper information, both the narrative information and the numerical information, and I'll explain which order you should read things, how to decide where something is going to be useful and how you should use it. So I'll then work through the numbers and show you how to produce the appendix, how to lay it out, which type of numbers to calculate, which type of numbers not to spend time on. And then I'll explain how to combine the narrative information with the numerical information to develop points for your answer. And I'll produce the answer, or tell you how I've produced my answer and explain how you should structure your points. So how you should structure each sentence, your writing style, how many points to include under each section, etc. So you'll be very clear on exactly what you need to do for each section and how you should structure each point and how you should manage time in the exam. So we'll do this for all of the requirements. So you'll be very clear on exactly how you should be using the exam paper information, how you should interpret the requirements, how you should structure your report, the type of points you should include in each section, how you should write and structure the points in order to maximize your mark. And then I'll then go to the marking key and I'll explain and demonstrate how this exam technique will ensure that you get close to 100% in the requirement. So we'll go through and I'll demonstrate how each of these points will be awarded marks by the examiner, and therefore you'll be able to see how effective this exam technique is in ensuring that you ace your case study exam. So then once you've seen me work through a requirement 1, and you've seen how to produce my answer using this exam technique, you can then go away and practice this yourself. You've seen me do it. You understand exactly what you need to be doing. Now, of course, the next step is for you to practice it so you can use this exam technique in the same way that I do. So after the class, you can then go away and practice this very same requirement yourself. Obviously, that'll be quite easy because you've obviously seen me work through it. But that's a good starting point, just so that you can go away and practice this technique, practice structuring your points in the same way that I did, practice laying out your appendix in the same way that I did. But to get even more practice, you could also go and do our other mock exams for this case study business. So we've got several mock exams on all of the recent case study exams. So you could go away and practice this other requirement 1. It will feel very similar. Of course, it's on the same business. Requirement 1's in the same format every time. All of the requirements are very similar. So therefore, you could go away and practice another one and just work on that exam technique, working on applying that exam technique that I have taught you. So of course, to do this, it does require you to have some knowledge of the previous advanced information, but to help you with this, we have lots of resources available on each case study exam. So you could go and watch the AI analysis class where I work through the AI and explain where each piece of information will be useful in the exam. And then also there's a mock exam debrief. So every time you practice a question, you can then go to the mock exam debrief and watch me analyze the question and explain the exam technique and how you should have used the information in the exam to produce the answer. You'll also have access to the AI analysis for each case study exam. So you have the AI neatly summarized and all of the key points identified. And you'll also have the pro forma report as well, which gives you some structure, some clear guidance as to what you need to include for each section. So working on your exam technique prior to your advanced information coming out by attempting past case study exams is a really useful exercise to do, and I would always highly recommend it because it enables you to learn the exam technique prior to your advanced information coming out. So you can go and work on your exam technique for requirement 1, watch me work through a question. You then go away and practice several other questions so that you can apply that exam technique. You could use our mock exams, and you can also use the ICAW actual exam. So then once you've mastered the exam technique for requirement 1, you can then go and do the same thing for requirement 2. So there's a class on requirement 2 where I'll be explaining the exam technique to use for requirement 2. So again, what requirement 2 involves, a type of information that's included in the exam paper, how you should be using this information in your answer, how you should lay out your appendix for requirement 2, etc. And then again, how you should structure your report. Again, I'll be referring to our pro forma report, how you should structure your report, the type of points you should be including in your answer, the writing style that you should be using, how you should be using the information in the exam paper and the AI to generate points. And then after I've demonstrated the exam technique, I'll go to the marking key and again demonstrate how this will help you ensure that you will get close to 100%. And then once again, you can then go back and practice the question yourselves. So you can work on that exam technique, practice this prize-winning exam technique. And of course, for additional practice, you can also go and do some of our other mock exams on this case study business. So you can do as much practice as you like, really, because as I've said, we've got the AI analysis and mock exam debriefs, both in terms of the videos and also in terms of the documents for all of the recent case study exams. So you can spend the time prior to your advanced information coming out, really mastering your exam technique. And as I explained before, this is a really useful thing to do, because then when your live advanced information comes out, you'll be able to focus on it in a much more exam focused way, because you'll have practiced some case study exams. So of course you'll know the structure of the exam, you'll know the types of points in the AI which tend to come up time and time again, and where they'll be useful in the exam. So it's a very valuable exercise working on your exam technique prior to the release of the live advanced information. But of course, when your live advanced information comes out, we'll spend a lot of time on this. So the AI analysis class will involve me working through each exhibit in your live advanced information. I'll be explaining how each exhibit is likely to be useful in the exam, the key points. I'll be doing analysis of each exhibit, including analysis of the numbers, showing how some points in different exhibits relate to the same subject matter, so how points should be combined, the key themes throughout the advanced information. So we'll work through this in a very exam focused way. So I'll be able to give you some clear guidance and structure as to what the key points are and where they're likely to be useful in the exam. We'll then finish off with me explaining what I think are likely exam scenarios and the key points you should be looking to consider and include in your answer. So once we have analysed the AI, there'll then be the classes on our mock exams. So we will release mock exams based on the live advanced information, and these will be available to purchase on our website along with our AI analysis document. So in each of these classes, similar to the earlier classes, I'll be working through the exam papers, and again I'll be explaining the exam technique and demonstrating the exam technique that you should be using. So I'll be explaining how to interpret the requirement, how you should use this to drive your report headings. And again, as part of the AI analysis, we'll also have a pro forma report. So I'll be explaining how you need to tailor and adapt this to the specific exam scenario. We'll then be working through the information, the narrative and the financial, explaining how to combine those points, how to analyze the numbers and how to structure them in your report and the type of points you should be including. And then of course, I'll refer to the marking key to demonstrate how this will help you score close to 100%. So therefore, just to recap on the course structure, it will firstly begin with some generic exam technique tuition for case study. And as I've said, even though we'll be using a past case study for this work, this is still incredibly useful because the exam is in the same format every time. And therefore, if you can understand the exam technique to use early on and how the marking key works, the type of points included in the AI and the exam paper, that's going to really help give you a head start when it comes on to look at your live advanced information. But nonetheless, when your live advanced information comes out, we'll spend a lot of time analyzing that advanced information. So there'll be a class where I analyze the AI, explaining all of the key points, help you interpret and analyze the information, and think about how that's going to feed into the exam. And then, of course, we'll be producing our mock exams, marking keys, and my model answers. And there'll be classes on those where we will be giving realistic exam scenarios of what we expect to come up in the exam. And I'll be showing you exactly how you should be answering that. So you're very clear on exactly what it is you need to do in your exam in order to score a prize-winning mark. So as I said at the start of the class, we've had a huge amount of success with this exam technique, both me personally and my students. And I've got every confidence that by using this course, I will be able to help you achieve a similar level of success. So I very much look forward to getting you through your case study exam with a top mark.